They pulled up outside, and their first impressions were, what a lovely house. But little did they know, looks are very deceiving. Katie looked at Jim and said, "Well, I think we are going to be really happy here. Your late mother will be pleased that you are going to move in and renovate her old house." They both turned around and looked at Chloe and Max. "Come on, kids," said Jim. "Let's go see what your grandmother, Ethel, has left you." Max was the first to reach the front door. It had a large rook's head as a door knocker. He pushed the door open, and you could hear the creaking of the oak and brass hinges moan, as if they were tired and worn. Max stopped just inside the entrance. "Don't stop, Max," said Katie. "We all need to hurry to empty the car before it gets dark." Jim turned on the hall lights. As everyone's eyes started to adjust, Jim noticed the huge chandelier above them. It was covered in cobwebs. "Looks like we have some cleaning to do," said Katie. Max and Chloe climbed the huge oak staircase. When they got to the top, they were both out of breath and quite red-faced. Chloe went to the left and down the long straight corridor. There were many doors on both sides, but she carried on walking, as if she knew where she was going. Eventually she stopped outside the last room on the right. She dropped her rucksack and doll, and began to open the door. Max walked to the right-hand corridor, which was dark and rather dusty. He came to the first room on the left. The door was already open and looked like it was in need of DIY. It was hanging on by one hinge. Jim went into the main lounge area and pulled away the large steel fire screen. Behind he could see someone had already set up the fireplace ready for lighting. There was small kindling, with straw and large logs on top. "Perfect," he said, in a appreciated and rewarding voice. He took out his cigar lighter and put the flame to the straw. The fireplace was heating the lounge in no time. Katie was in the enormous oak kitchen. She couldn't believe how big it was. There was 3 massive black cast iron ranges, and many pots and pans hanging up on the oak beam ceiling. "Wow," she said. "I'm going to enjoy cooking a family meals in here," she said. It was slowly getting darker now. Everyone was back outside. "I think this is the last of the boxes," Jim said, as they all carried stuff back inside. "Are you going to that shop down the road, Jim?" Katie said. "Yeah, they sell everything in that shop." The 2 children were busy unpacking their stuff upstairs when Jim drove off down the long dusty drive. Katie was busy looking in the kitchen cupboards when she heard a thudding sound. Her eyes looked straight at the large oak door near the ranges. The sound stops as she starts to walk over to the door. She turns the handle, but it doesn't open. "I wonder where the key is to this door," she says. "What's in there, Mum?" says Max. "Max, you made me jump then," said Katie. "I thought you were still upstairs." "I'm not sure, Max, really. I will ask Jim when he comes back from the shop. He's been gone ages," she said. But just as she said that, they both heard the front door creak open and slam shut, with an echoing bang. "I'm back," shouts Jim. "About time," Katie said to Max. "You've been ages, Jim," said Katie. "Sorry, but the shopkeeper wanted to know all my life story, and why we're moving into Ethel's house." Everyone was now busy eating in the kitchen. Suddenly they heard the banging of the stag's head on the front door. Jim jumped up. "I'll get it," he said. The others carried on eating. "Oh well, must have been the wind," Jim said as he returned to the table, "or the invisible man, because I couldn't see him." That got a smile from Max. "Thank you, Dad," said Chloe. "Them sandwiches were tasty, just what my stomach needed, after climbing that oak staircase 8 times already." "Yes, lovely, thanks, Dad," said Max as he finished chewing on the last piece of chicken sandwich. Chloe and Max went off back to finish off unpacking upstairs, while Jim and Katie embraced each other, both looking out through the grubby kitchen window. "We are going to be all happy here, aren't we, Jim?" said Katie in a hopeful voice. "Of course we are. We are gonna be more than happy here," replied Jim. His voice didn't reassure Katie as much as she would have wanted, but she was grateful for the tight embrace. Katie carried on cleaning the kitchen cupboards. Jim put a few more logs on the lounge fire. Chloe was hanging the last of her clothes in her room. Max was still unpacking his Star Wars toys. and putting them pride of place, on the wide oak shelves above his bedroom fireplace. His bedroom was extremely large, and like all the rest of the house it was still fully furnished, exactly the same as the day Ethel's body was found. Nothing has been touched by the police or any other organizations who had visited the house. Max went over to his window and looked out over the lake, then his eyes drifted over to the boathouse. He could just about see a female figure moving inside the boathouse entrance. She was dressed in white and had a hat on. He carried on looking at the figure. It turned around and looked straight up at him. He crashed to the floor quickly so the person couldn't see him. "Damn, busted," he said loudly. After a few minutes, he slowly got back up and looked at the boathouse entrance. The woman in white was gone. Max carried on with his toys. Chloe had nearly finished hanging up her dresses when her eyes caught a glimpse of the beautiful arrangement of porcelain dolls on just one of many shelves in her room. She was still looking at the dolls as she walked towards the wardrobe. Just before her last step to the wardrobe, the doors on the wardrobe slammed shut. She was startled so much she dropped her dresses on the floor and screamed out loud. Katie was first on the scene, followed by Max, then Jim. "What's the problem, Chloe?" said Katie. "The wardrobe doors have just slammed shut, for no reason," Chloe said, in a nervous voice. Jim and Max started laughing. "It's the bogey man," said Max. Katie put her arms around Chloe and gave her a comforting squeeze. "It's all a bit strange around here, but there's certainly no bogey man, is there, Max?" Katie opened the wardrobe doors and then picked up Chloe's clothes and put them swiftly on the wardrobe rail. "Thanks, Mum, and sorry for screaming." "It's okay, Chloe." "Wow, look at all these weird-looking dolls," said Max. "Careful, Max, they belong to my late grandmother. They're super rare and fragile," Jim said. Jim and Max both left Chloe's room and went downstairs into the lounge. The heat from the fire was so cozy. Jim sat in the big brown leather chair next to the fire. Max sat in front of the fire looking at a large, dusty and dirty-looking deer's head on the chimney breast. "I take it, you don't like the deer," said Jim. "No, it's horrible," said Max. "Its eyes look creepy, and they seem to follow you around when you move." Jim chuckled, and then added another log to the fire. "Oh, by the way, Mum wanted to know if you have a key to the door in the kitchen. She thinks it's a cellar door, but it's locked." "I might have a key, Max. I've found a big bundle of them in the cloakroom. Let's both go and see if one fits it." They both went to the cloakroom, and Jim picked up the bundle of keys. "Here, Max, you try them, while I make a nice pot of tea for us all." Max was trying each key in the cellar door, but each one wouldn't open it. "Having a tough time, Max," said Jim. "Not many left to try," said Max, sounding rather annoyed. Then suddenly, bingo, the door lock clicked and Max pushed open the cellar door. It was pitch black, so Jim fumbled around for a switch. "Aha, that's better," as he finally found the light switch. They both looked down. There were many wooden steps below. "After you, Max." "I don't think so," said Max. "It's your grandmother's house, so you go first," he said, quite sheepishly. Jim was just going down the first couple of steps when Katie said, "Oh, you found the key then?" "Yeah, no shit." Max followed Jim down the steps. At the bottom they could see it was huge, and would take a while to explore everything. "Let's go back up, Max. We can explore here another time." Max really wanted to explore, but Dad was right. "We've got plenty of time to come down here." "So what's down there, guys?" said Katie. "Too much for today," said Jim, "but it is the cellar, that's for sure." It was getting darker outside now. "It's time we all got some sleep," said Katie. "Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree there," Jim replied. Luckily they had all brought sleeping bags with them. The beds were too dusty and dirty to sleep in. "Okay, you both go upstairs, and I will see to the fire and lock the doors," said Jim. "Nighty-night," said Max as he ran up the oak staircase. "Nighty-night, young man," Jim and Katie said simultaneously. Max zipped up his sleeping bag right up to his ears. It was warm and snuggly. His Star Wars objects were lighting up the room. They had built-in lighting systems, and now and again his large Darth Vader figure would talk when someone triggers its motion sensors, but it was always known to randomly speak even if nobody triggered it.